Hello, welcome to episode 11 of my journey getting to know the Enchanted Map Oracle deck by Colette Baron Reid, illustrated by Jenna Della Grottaglia. And today is our 11th episode. And when I started this, I was like, I didn't even think about it. I don't know. One day I just was like, I'm going to do this. And in in reflecting on this, I like the accountability. It seems to be holding me accountable. Whether anybody watches this or not, um, there's a different way that I'm being real and authentic and genuine that I don't experience in other aspects of my life. So I'm not sure if that's because I'm sitting here talking to my reflection in the camera, um, which is a whole new experience because I'm somebody that doesn't like looking at myself. I have always struggled looking in the mirror. And so I don't know. So this is actually helping me tremendously. I have heard from a few of my subscribers that this is very powerful for them as well. And so I encourage you, if you are watching this, to comment as to whether what this is doing for you, or even just comment on what you see in the images in the card, or what message you get for yourself. Um, that will help me to continue to do these. I certainly hope that there is an audience out there that these speak to that might get something out of this as well. So yesterday's card, as I bring that up, was one that I was a little I didn't care for it when I pulled it because it insinuated to me. I have a little trouble seeing my cursor. There it is. It insinuated that I needed to do a lot of work. Um, which I have done actually, which was always good. Um, I saw it as an opportunity for growth, right? And instead of just saying those words, I actually walked my talk a bit. That is not what I wanted to pull up. Sorry about that. And let's see, 46. I was blanking on what number it was suddenly. There we go. So, yeah, what do I need to know in order to recognize when my ego masquerades as my higher self? And using the word masquerade, which I'm not sure I've ever used in a question before, and then pulling the card that actually has masks in it was something. There's so much in this card, right? And there was so much that came up just again in looking at the card and sitting with the art, meditating, and then as I started to journal. What I will share today, for the sake of brevity, is a piece of my process that happened. Um, what really struck me was how the words coming apart, you want to finish that with coming together. It's falling apart, it's breaking apart, but not coming apart. And so I sat with that and I thought, well, that's interesting, right? And just again, and looking at, I really stared into that bright light in the middle, and the purples, the lavenders, and thought about coming apart, coming apart. And what came to me was I needed to come apart to come together, to become whole, to become wholly integrated. And to me, these two, the duality in this card, if you will, and of course we're in the Gemini sun right now, so I found that interesting, Gemini being twins, and then the duality within this card. it's the ego and the soul, right? So my question was about that ego self that mimics my higher self, but is intellectual and is my ego, um, and is not my higher self. So in order to integrate those two aspects, and in order to become one whole person, I first have to come apart. And I'm like, okay, what does that mean? How the hell do you do that, right? And so I actually did an exercise that I do frequently with my clients, and it's kind of something I throw together, pieces, parts of other exercises, but it's based mainly on a technique called voice dialogue, which was developed by Helen Sidra Stone, and they're Jungian analysts and fellow Carl Jung and depth psychology. Um, and I throw in some Gestalt principles as well, and some other eclectic, you know, principles of other psychologies that I've learned, and just some life experience, if you will. And so I I have three chairs, and I sit in three different chairs. It's important to move from one chair to the other. And in one chair, I'm in my neutral observer, or um, some people call that aware ego. I like to use the term that actually Colette uses, is that neutral observer. So I'm separate from my ego, from myself, and I'm watching myself. I can see myself, and I have no judgment. I'm just neutral observer. And then the other chair is that ego self that mimics my higher self. And then the third chair is my soul self, my highest self. And not to go into a whole lot of detail, but I practice moving in and out of those selves so that I can physically move between them, and emotionally, mentally, within myself shift. And then I had a conversation between my ego self that is mimicking my higher self and my higher self. And it's such a powerful exercise to do. Again, it's something that I love to do with clients, because it, 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 it gets to, it gets you to the issues quickly, right? It helps you to identify quickly what's going on and what needs to be done to integrate those aspects of yourself. So I just wanted to share that this was a very powerful card for me. A lot of work was done on this card. I ended up doing this exercise on myself, and it was indeed very helpful. And I think that awareness now that I have about, um, why my ego, that was the outcome of the exercise. I became aware of why my ego was mimicking my higher self, and it was wonderful work. It really made me feel relieved, and opened up a whole new level of understanding for myself. So that was a lot. Um, so we're going to go ahead and just move on into today's poll. And the question I came up with for today is, what is my next right action to enhance my intuition for my highest good? I was talking to a friend earlier, and talking about complacency, and it's important for me, to not get complacent in my spiritual practices, and kind of do things different, kind of shake things up every now and again. And I always want to be working, at becoming my most authentic self. And in order to do that, I need to be able to hear my intuition and hear that voice within me, because my soul self, my higher self, my intuition, that all lives in to me, it's like in my gut, if you will. It's not in my head. It's anywhere other than my head, probably. So that's the question we're going with today. So today I'm going to lovingly ask my ego to step aside so that I can be receptive of the message um, that Spirit has for me today. I intend to do this um, in love and light, and I intend only the truth to be spoken. No wrong way to shuffle the cards. Remember, I've talked about that in other episodes. Just have in mind how you're going to pull the card to show it. Just kind of have that in your mind before you do it. I also cleared my deck with my Ho'oponopono mantra. I love you. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. And again, my question, what is my next right action to enhance my intuition for my highest good? Interesting, because I had I don't think I have premonitions, but I might need to be open to that because I thought about this card. I thought, I might be pulling this card. So and it's, that's the thing about our intuition and that part of us, it's so fleeting, and we've worked our whole life at suppressing it and not listening to that part of us. Well, a lot of us, some of us haven't, but a lot of us have. And so when we're trying to get in touch with that and recognize that, sometimes I almost am too aware, like I'm hyper vigilant, which isn't the right way to be with this. It's kind of this relaxed, kind of being able to see in the periphery. And wow. So yes, I can pull it up on the screen now. So I pulled a card. It's number 1, the Bone Collector. Also, it's interesting because I'm rereading Women Who Run with the Wolves. And she talks a lot about the Bone Collector in the beginning of that book. And so that's been on my mind. So I'm not surprised because the energy that I've had around me has been the Bone Collector energy. I actually think it is probably one of the most beautiful cards in this deck. So, I'm going to feel into this. I immediately feel the warmth. I love the image of the old woman and everything that symbolizes the wisdom. I love the wisdom in her eyes, the look on her face. There's so much going on in this card. Oh, there's a cage hanging on the tree where the one skull is, but there's nothing in it, and then there's a bird in flight. There's a freedom, right? The clocks in the oracle cards always remind me of divine timing. The circle that she has cast in stone around her, the rabbit, for me is luck. And she's holding a feather, perhaps a peacock feather. And I like the halo around her head, right? And it looks like there's musical notes within that, within those concentric lines in the circle around her, the orb. representing, that higher self, that spirit from divine source. All right, let's see what it says. Love this card. Love, love, love this card. Can you tell that I love this card? And bones never disintegrate, right? Bones are strong. And I pulled it in the upright position. Okay, you are whole and have everything you need within. You can't make this shit up, right? You are whole. And I just talked about that with my last card. When the bone collector appears, she is asking you to look closely at your circumstances to see if you're fully present or reacting out of past conditioning and unconscious expectations. Whenever you're wounded, especially when you're young, it's as if something essential is stolen from us. We adapt and accept a particular version of the truth that then sets us up to behave a certain way in the future when faced with a situation that reminds us of the original event. What we know about ourselves thus becomes influenced by a perception of limitation. You may feel unworthy or without courage. You may see yourself as flawed or unlovable, or expect to be criticized. No matter what your question, the bone collector reminds you that the truth is that you are a powerful being with limitless possibilities. She has kept safe what was stolen from you in the wounding and is here for you as you reclaim it now. You have everything you believe you lack, and the bone collector is your inner resource. Act as if you have what you need, and you'll find you have it after all. Anything is possible. With awareness, the wounds of the past need not define you. Well, wow, right? I've got goosebumps all over. How do I pick out a little piece? I'm still amazed at how much this card also speaks to my question from yesterday about recognizing when my ego masquerades as my higher self, because what I learned in the exercise that I did was that it does that because of those wounds from childhood and then those messages that were ingrained, and that part of my ego became highly developed so that I didn't recognize it as such as my ego. But it all came out of wounding and not being able to use those gifts that I was born with. And that ego developed out of that separateness from my true authentic self. So looking at today's question, what is my next right action to enhance my intuition for my highest good? I asked that because I felt that I lacked it. I lacked enough intuition, or that I wasn't in touch enough with my intuition, that it needed to be more. And the bone collector tells me, I've got it. Everything's right here. She has replaced those bones from those wounds. She kept those safe, those parts of me safe when I was wounded. And all I have to do is become whole again, right? To come together. Reintegrate those parts back into myself. And it's not that I need to enhance my intuition, right? It's all about knowing that am intuitive. And knowing that when I'm whole, I don't need anything else. I am. Whew. This stuff's getting deep. All right. I have a feeling there's going to be, well, there's more goosebumps coming too. There's going to be a lot more journaling and meditating on this. So until tomorrow, my friends, namaste.